Hi everyone, it's Emma here, and today my video blog is on the topic, how do I get rid of my IBS bloating? So I think with IBS and digestive symptoms, the bloating can be quite a common symptom, quite frustrating, and people often want to understandably get it under control. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the causes of bloating, some of the mechanisms involved, and hopefully what you can do to help. So bloating is a really common symptom of IBS, but actually on the topic of IBS, I just want to talk about that more generally. So IBS is a very general term. It's a bit of an umbrella term, and actually doesn't really tell us much about your individual symptoms. So this is why I like to try and drill down to those individual symptoms to understand what you're experiencing and why, and then strive to manage those as individual symptoms. So first of all, when it comes to bloating, I really want to try and understand what might be causing the bloating in the first place, and then we can tailor our plan in terms of trying to manage that symptom. So first of all, a common underlying problem with IBS and digestive symptoms is digestive insufficiency. So this is really common, especially as we get older, also in times of stress. Stress is absolutely key for when it comes to digestive symptoms, as stress unfortunately shuts down your digestion to some degree, as your stress response and your sympathetic nervous system fire up. So unfortunately what this does is drive down levels of your gastric acid, your stomach acid, and this in turn means that you potentially aren't digesting your food properly, you aren't breaking it down, and you aren't absorbing lots of those lovely key nutrients. So that's really one to consider. Also, this digestive insufficiency can really be kind of linked to those food sensitivities, those food intolerances, as these larger particles of food, which aren't broken down properly, then travel further through the digestive system, and your immune system can risk getting involved in reacting to those. So common culprits could be dairy or gluten, for example, as they are slightly more reactive. We can be more reactive to those elements in our diet, especially if they aren't being broken down properly. In terms of other causes of bloating, especially bloating kind of lower down the digestive tract, we also have constipation. And this can be for a number of reasons. Firstly, we have that physical mass, the physical build-up of food waste, which can make us feel quite heavy, quite bloated. But also if our transit time is decreasing, it's slowing down, that food waste is fermenting and lying there a bit longer. This can also alter the balance of bacteria in your gut as well. So we call this dysbiosis, and this is where your products like your prebiotics and your probiotics would potentially come in handy. But it's nice to also do some prep work around the stomach. So if you suspect the digestive insufficiency is starting higher up in your stomach, that's where your lovely bitter herbs such as your Yarrow or your centurion would come in. So those are amongst some of the main causes of bloating. So now we can just talk through some of the tips for managing bloating in light of some of those symptoms. So first of all, we want to talk about chewing your food, and we call it at Avogo good eating mechanics. So this is the very first step of digestion, as early as your mouth, and we want to get digestion off to the very best start. So by eating more mindfully, more slowly, more deliberately, this helps to shut off that stress response that I spoke about, but also physically you're going to break down the food better, increase the surface area so that your digestive enzymes are able to start attacking that food more efficiently. So that's the first step to consider. Second step is to not overeat or drink. A couple of reasons. First of all, physically, again, that will increase the volume in your tummy in terms of physically bloating us, but actually it means that your digestive enzymes could potentially suffer. They could become diluted if there's too much content in your stomach, and they may not be able to handle that bigger mass, which again could run into those problems of your food not being broken down properly. So this is just something to keep in mind, to try not to overfill the stomach. In line with that thought, I'm also going to mention water here. I have spoken about constipation, so in particular water is so important if you're constipated, we would be aiming for 1.5 to 2 litres of water daily. Preferably plain still water. We don't really want any sugar or sweeteners in there which could risk throwing off your balance of bacteria. But also the key is to try not drink too much alongside your meals, because again we want to keep those gastric secretions quite strong. We don't want to risk diluting them. Next topic on my list or tip is to mention fibre. So dietary fibre is very important in terms of general digestive health, sometimes in cases of IBS. You may have heard about FODMAPs, which are a specific type of fibre, and you may be wary of those. Now, ideally in the long term, we do want to include fibre, and we want to include a good range of fibre, as variety is absolutely key for your good gut bacteria. Initially, depending on the state of your digestion, you may need to be a little bit careful with certain FODMAPs, but ideally this wouldn't be forever. And by increasing your digestive sufficiency, as I've talked about with the bitters and your kind of chewing and things, then we would hope that you'd be able to tolerate more fibre again, as it is really important. In terms of bloating and gas, a little bit is normal, because the fibre is food for our good gut bacteria, and these ferment and break down these fibres and can produce gases, so a little bit is normal. It's when we have excess symptoms, then it could suggest the balance of bacteria is a little bit off, or you're not breaking down the food properly in the first place. My next tip in terms of bloating is exercise. Here at Evogo, and personally myself, we don't like to recommend extremes. In terms of exercise, that can be a source of stress on your body and impact your digestion negatively, as I already mentioned. So what I would say is just to try and prioritise regular, consistent, gentle exercises. So even just walking can help to very gently stimulate your digestion into action. It helps contract those muscles, and also you're going to be decreasing stress by employing regular exercise as well. Now, in terms of a product, I just want to mention Silicol Gel. So this is indicated for symptoms of IBS, and that can include flatulence as well. So flatulence, bloating, those kind of symptoms, it can really help to manage some of those key symptoms of IBS. This is often very good initially to help calm those symptoms if you've got a bit of a flare-up, and then longer term I would consider those herbs such as the Yarrow complex for kind of longer term support of the digestive tract. The Silicol Gel is fine to take alongside most medications. We would say to be wary of thyroxine and certain heart medications, but generally it's okay with medications. Just be sure to take it 1 hour apart from medications, just in case it affects absorption. And more generally, just a final comment from me is, of course, this is advice for kind of general bloating type symptoms, but as always, if you have any persistent or severe symptoms, any pain or any blood in your stools, anything along those lines, and as I say, persistent or severe, then we would say to also check in with your doctor. So hopefully that helps give you a good overview of understanding and managing bloating. Please do subscribe to our Evogo YouTube channel if you want to hear more videos, and also hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I submit new videos. Thanks, and speak soon.